Oh, and we're live by the looks of it. So, hello and welcome to the special author Q&A. I'm Nicola from Listening Books, and we're really excited to be joined by baker and author Kim Joy. So thank you so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
I am good. I've been hanging out with my cat Inky. Actually, you can just see in the background there.
Oh
There's a
yeah.
cardboard box because I'm trying to construct some furniture, but because it's all
Nice.
laid out, he's like been glued there. He's just been glued there for days.
Oh bless. Did you see like a cardboard, a boxes, and it was like I need to be there?
Yeah. It's like this is my happy place.
Yeah.
Eyes in the book, I guess. I memean, cats are great at finding joy.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely. Be more cat.
yeah, be more cat is what I always say.
Yeah. So hello to everybody signing on today. Hope you're all well. Remember to ask us your questions in the chat box and we'll get to those a little bit later. But yeah, just jumping straight into it. Where do you find your inspiration for your super cute and wildly creative bakes? I mean, you've had like the space turtles, the little umbrellas. I love those on Bake Off. Your monster meringues, and then you got the burrito Swiss rolls too. So obviously, cats are a big inspiration there.
Definitely, animals in general are a big inspiration, but also probably cats are up there.
Yeah.
That's why I did a whole cat themed baking book where everything looks like a cat. But I think inspiration comes from kind of everywhere. I think sometimes, like, I see maybe more of a specific example is sometimes I see like a color palette I really like, for instance, and it might not necessarily be in a bake. It might be in, I don't know, front cover of a book or something. And I'm like, oh, I really want to incorporate that into a book. Or sometimes I look at a bake. Sometimes I stare endlessly at a bake and think about how could this be cute? And then I guess thinking of ideas is all about making links between random different things. So I try and do that. But then sometimes I just zone out. Sometimes I put a lot of background television on that's not very sophisticated television, but it helps my brain.
Nice, yeah. And so baking and writing are both really joyful, creative pursuits. How did you approach crafting your first cookbook, especially when it came to selecting which recipes to involve and which bakes?
Yeah. So my first cookbook was Baking with Kim Joy, and that was a really nice, easy one because it was the first book. So it's just like, well, here's my favorite things that I want to do.
Yeah.
I know I wanted a variety of bread, cakes, biscuits, pastries, everything delicious, really. I often lean towards things that I want to eat. But yeah, it's sort of, luckily, my publishers are amazing, and they just said, I sent a list of bakes that I proposed, and they were like really happy for me to do my thing.
Nice. Yeah. And now I'm a huge like graphic novel fan, like Heartstopper, Critical Role, and that kind of thing. So I really love Turtle Bread. How did you make the joy from make the leap from writing cookbooks to jumping into graphic novels, and especially with Dark Horse Comics, which is such a great brand publisher?
I was so excited to do my own graphic novel. And it was mostly through, I guess, Bake Off as the platform. And then I've always wanted to write something fictional. But then luckily we knew somebody. We know quite a lot of people in the comics industry because my partner owns a shop called Traveling Man. So if anyone's into board games or comics, there's like 4 stores and an online store. And then he runs a festival called Thought Bubble Festival as well. So we know a lot of creators and meet a lot of people. So, but I'm not very good at networking. So he kind of networks, and then I bounce off of him.
Hi. Yeah.
Hello, I'm here.
Yeah.
Please, I know it worked out. Luck,
Yeah.
luck is important.
Definitely. Yeah. And timing, especially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Turtle Bread was like I found it a really moving story about like self-acceptance, finding your community. What inspired you to tell that story?
So a lot of it's inspired by my life growing up. I had I had selective mutism in secondary school, so I basically didn't talk in school. There's a lot of misconceptions about it. So for me, it was very severe social anxiety and expressed in that kind of way. and I just really struggled, sort of never really had any friends. So Turtle Bread draws a lot on my own experiences, with the main character having social anxiety, joining a baking club. There's recipes in there as well. And sort of the ups and downs of trying to find your people. Because I really lucked out with finding people eventually when I went to university who sort of really supported me, and that really helped me along my way. Maybe going a bit off topic here. And it's called Turtle Bread because obviously I like making turtle bread, and that features in the recipe in the book. But also it's about that shell and that armor that you have on. So there's sort of like the image of the turtle throughout, where we have that exterior shell, but then there's a vulnerability inside. And it's all about slow steps forward. So the book isn't about here's somebody with social anxiety and then they're totally recovered, because I think that rarely ever happens. It always kind of lingers there. So even though I seem kind of, I do a lot of talking, like doing this live. I always identify being socially anxious. So I wanted the book to stay true to that. And there's stuff that happens and twists and turns, and I can't say what because
you'd be giving everything away. Definitely. And I feel like you perfectly captured that feeling of like fear of rejection and failing that's like really present with anxiety in Yan. What would be your top tips to help come out of your shell, other than finding a bee or a baking club?
Yes. I always think it's different for everybody, and I don't want to give like something like just general, because I think it's so specific to you and how you're struggling with your anxiety. For me, I would say I took a big risk. So I went to university and I kind of did the whole fake it till you make it strategy, which has its issues for sure, because you're faking it, and at what point do you stop faking it, um and but I was very lucky through that, and I managed to make friends and people who appreciated me. I kind of did that in a not so I decided I'm going to drink loads and this will make people like me. And it sort of works, because you can be like the fun person who drinks a lot and people love that. So that's why it wasn't quite like being true to myself. But I think it doesn't have to be a perfect journey, if that makes sense. Like, it doesn't have to be, oh, I suddenly made friends in like the perfect way. It's evolved from there, and still a lot of people, a couple of people I'm still friends with from university, so it really worked out. Different things work for different people. Like therapy, I'd always recommend. You might find cognitive behavioral therapy helpful. Not everybody does. Can be tricky with social anxiety because it's always about graded exposure. So you start with a smaller situation, like maybe like a small, like trying to talk to somebody at the shop or something, and then grade it up. But you can't really control that with social anxiety because you're just exposed. Suddenly I'm doing a live or something. So it can be tricky. But I think it's constantly reflecting is the most important thing. And that's also something I talk about in Ordinary Joy, is constantly thinking, I also find it helpful to think back and like, oh, where have I come from? And keep reminding yourself that, you're doing everything that's possible that you can. I think one of the worst things is when you start beating yourself up about it and going, I don't know, all the things that go through your head when you're like beating yourself up. But yeah, I think sounds cliche, being gentle to yourself, but I think practical ways to do that, and I think the main way is reflecting, and I think knowledge is power, which is a common theme I talk about in the book, because sometimes it just helps to know. I don't know what I'm saying. It just helps to know, because it's weird with social anxiety and you question yourself a lot. And I also am waiting for an assessment for autism because it overlaps a lot.
Yeah.
So sometimes you question a social situation, but actually the fear isn't unrealistic. The fear is actually real because you are struggling to sort of get along in a group situation or say the correct things. So kind of learning and figuring out how people interact is really helpful for me.
Definitely, I agree. Now we've got a couple of questions come in. So we've got one from Bryony Brum. She said, speaking of struggling at school, she's having had a tough time in school. I wondered if Kim Joy had any advice for wanting to share cooking video content, but worried about getting trolled online.
Oh, yeah, that's a really tricky one because it's weird being on social media and having difficulties with anxiety. And it's something I'm always struggling to balance as well. One thing can be, so, like, luckily recipe videos are a good one because you don't have to show your face if you don't show your face. And if further down the line you want to show your face, then do that. But then there's also a lot of pressure, like you want to get more likes and views and all of that. And then, you know, you look at people's tips on social media and they're like, oh, you need to show your face. And you
like, no.
Like, I was actually talking to my partner Nabil about this yesterday, and I was saying, oh, you know, should I be talking a bit more on video? But it makes me quite, I don't know. I like focusing on the creativity aspect.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think just take it easy, do one step at a time. For me, how I started was back when social media was more like photos, and I probably preferred that.
Agreed. Yeah.
I feel like I could just switch off when I was baking. But that was nice because I think another thing is it also increases your confidence as you go along. And I did like a year of posting to social media, and then I applied for the Bake Off and got on the Bake Off, and that really was really, really helpful for me. So I don't know, keep posting. Don't put too much pressure on yourself initially to post too regularly, because a baking video it takes time. It can take like a day to film, half a day to edit, maybe even longer if you're doing like a YouTube or something like that. Sometimes one thing that can be helpful is, it's weird because the people who know you, I always have this, and I think it's quite common, where you feel more anxious about people who know you seeing your social media than actually people who don't know you. So maybe just set a boundary and just don't tell anybody about it if that's possible, or just tell them I'm just keeping it for myself and can you not follow me? I don't know what your situation is like, Bryony, but yeah, hope that helps.
Thank you very much. We got another one from Amy. She said, hi, Kim Joy. Do you have the same kind of writing process when you're writing books from different genres? Or do you work differently depending on if it's a cookbook, graphic novel, etc.?
It feels quite different actually, because with a cookbook there's a lot more like recipe testing, lots of scrappy little notes and stuff like that. Whereas when I was writing Turtle Bread, my comic book, I'm actually, no, the writing side of things. So I did the baking obviously at home, and then I used to go into my partner Nabil's office, and that's where I can concentrate because there's people around me. Whereas at home, I'm like, just have a nap, hang out with me.
There's a cat here. Yeah.
Rustling around in the background. So that really helps me. And I don't think I am that structured, really. I try to be, but I'm not entirely. Actually, the self-help book, Ordinary Joy, I wrote that mostly on my phone, or pretty much all on my phone. I write in the notes app on my phone, but it's partly because I've got chronic illness issues. So last year when I was writing it, my health got so bad that so I have like chronic migraine and other issues, so it's
Yeah.
every day.
Mm.
And it affects, people don't always realize it's not always just pain. It affects your ability to think, and it affects your whole body. Like all my muscles would feel fatigued. So I wasn't able to think properly, and it was really, really challenging. And I was lucky because I spoke to my publisher, and they said, "Do you need any assistance?" Because I kept pushing the deadline back, and this is very unlike me. All of
Mm.
my previous books, everything's always on time. You know, I love a deadline, can always meet a deadline. But yeah, this book, I just felt it's awful to lose that, like feeling like I can't write anymore. I just can't do it.
Mm.
So they worked with me and said, "Do you want a co-writer?" And I was like, "Yes, please." And so I wrote, and luckily, partway through it, my health got a lot better, because
Okay.
at first I was like, I don't even think I can do it as a co-writer.
Oh no.
um,
Mm.
so I was thinking this isn't going to happen at all. But then I was able to do the majority of it anyway, so that was really good. So I just wrote like loads in my notes, and then she condensed it down basically. So that was really, really helpful. But I thought
Yeah.
it's an important thing to do, because otherwise the story wouldn't be out there. And I think it's good to get voices from different people. So yeah, I was really happy to have been able to do Ordinary Joy.
Yeah. I'm really looking forward to it as well. It sounds really just like a lovely, inspiring book. We had a question from Claire who asked, "Were you inspired by any books you've read to start writing?"
Oh, yes, I was inspired by. I've forgotten now. Little Fred was inspired. Oh yeah, so one. It's not a book. It's a film called Mary and Max. And
Oh yeah, is it
it's
claymation? Stop
Yay!
nation. Yeah, yeah.
Not everyone, like, yeah, not everyone has heard of it, but I
Mm.
think it took ages to make, because it's a claymation and all the animations took ages. But it's about this Australian girl growing up, and she has social anxiety. She doesn't have any friends. She longs to have some friends. So she starts a pen pal relationship with this, and it's a very like a generational gap, because
Yeah.
an older man with autism, and he also doesn't have any friends. And then they have this pen pal relationship, and things happen. Don't want to say what happens, but I just love that film so, so much. So that's kind of the idea in Turtle Bread, where I have the generational gap between Yan and B,
Ah.
and sort of learning from each other in that way.
Mm.
And obviously, they're not having friends, but they're not.
Yeah. Oh, it's just such a lovely film, though, isn't it? It's so
It
sweet, so
is.
cute. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, and Turtle Bread, just jumping back to that, features so many fantastic and unique characters. And the creative team was so great with the art as well. What was the process like developing them, especially like the charming character designs?
mm-hmm. With the artist Alti Firmanshaw, she's amazing. And I just wrote. So I had like almost like, in D&D, you have your like your character
Character
sheet.
sheet, yeah.
Yeah, my editor recommended that, so I did like character sheets for each person. Even if things weren't going to go into story, this is like their backstory to inform how they're going to.
Ah.
So I sent those character sheets over to her, and I don't really, obviously there's certain things I could put, oh, they're really tall or something like that, and she'll draw that. But I give like, we work collaboratively. So I say it's 50-50, it's both of us. And I don't want to say you have to draw this. So yeah, I really trust her, and she's really amazing at what she does. And I always love the personality and expressions that she puts into different characters and really brings them to life.
Definitely. And I got a real like Scott Pilgrim vibe from it. I don't know if you've read that graphic novel,
I
but
haven't. No, did
oh
you?
yeah, it looked
Oh,
really, yeah, I loved it. It was really great.
wow.
Yeah. So we just had another question as well from Laura, who said, I'm neurodivergent too and find self-care difficult sometimes. I
Mhm.
just wondered what you enjoy doing to relax and look after yourself.
Yes, I find self-care extremely difficult. um, I really struggle to remember to eat, drink, but then when I do eat, then I'm like, oh, I love food.
Yes.
Obviously, like I love food. It's just the whole transitioning between doing a task and then eating. So I'll struggle to say if I'm baking in the kitchen, I can't take a break to
Right.
eat and come back because I know that if I take a break, I won't be able to switch back. It feels too so it's really or if so I can do it, but it takes a lot from me. And it really, what really helps me with self-care really is having my partner Nabil. I don't think it's a bad thing to admit that I don't think I'd be able to do everything that I do without him, because yesterday he was at home and I loved it because he'll do things like say, I think you need a rest. I'm like, do I? And I still won't rest. And he's like, no, no, you need a rest. And no, you need a rest. And then there's do rest. I'm like, oh,
Mm.
I just need a rest. And it'll make me a cup of tea and stuff like that. So a lot of my self-care comes externally. But things I actually do to relax is hang out with my cats. I've mentioned that a few times. I love lately I've been struggling to do things to relax. But one of the things I love is candles. I've talked about this a bit in Ordinary Joy. I love being comfortable.
Mm.
It's one of the things I feel like if there's anything I'm an expert in, it's being comfortable.
That's
Um, I just know what I need to be comfortable because I have a lot of sensory issues as well, and I think that's where it comes from. Um, so yeah, lovely candles on, really like make the room all cozy, get a nice heated blanket. I've got a heated blanket on me now, but it's
nice.
not on. Yeah, hang out with my cats, eat some tasty food, do some baking. I love bread. Bread is the most relaxing thing for me to bake. Good focaccia is incredible. If you haven't made focaccia, I highly recommend it. But yeah, I love being surrounded by plants and nature as well.
Definitely. I mean, related to that, Lisa, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Apology for that wrong. They said, I hug trees to relax. I discovered doing this during lockdown. Tree trunks, which are torso size, are particularly satisfying. Oh.
Oh, what was that again? To create tree?
Hugging trees.
Oh, hugging trees. A hugging tree. That sounds nice. Like a big tree trunk or a small tree trunk.
They say tree trunks, which are torso sized.
I'll both sides. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I'll have to check out. There's trees in my garden. So I'll check
Oh,
them out and assess which is torso sized.
no. Yeah. Nice. So yeah, congratulations on your upcoming book, Ordinary Joy. That's out later this month. What can readers expect from that? Especially, obviously, lots of candles, lots of cat chat.
Um, I kind of talk a lot about my own stories in Ordinary Joy, and there's different chapters that focus on different areas. But the most important thing I try to get across in the book is, so I talk about my own experiences, but also, you know, none of the book is like, this is what you have to do kind of thing. It's all, this is what works for me. And here are things that I try and reflect on that can help me. And here are some things that could help you. But obviously, it's different for everybody. So I try to take into account just different privileges that everybody has, and try to make it, you know, there's certain things like, for instance, in the laziness doesn't exist chapter, which is one of my favorites, I talk about how everyone has a different amount of resources, I guess you can call it. So a different amount of energy. So you might have less because you have like a disability, for instance, or you might have more because you have a lot of money. Or you just have more to expend, or you have really good health or something like that. Or but then you have a certain amount to spend it on. So everyone has these resources or this resources, and then you need to divide it up between your responsibilities in life and also relaxing. So you could be relaxing, work, travel, eating, self-care, all of those things. And not everyone has the same amount. So you might, and you can't just add more to it. So if you want to have more self-care time, you need to take away time from work time. Or if you want, everyone's like, I need to work harder, but then you need to sacrifice something else. And so I always say that nobody's sat on a big pile of resources and not doing anything with it. It can look like that to other people, and calling somebody lazy is like a moral. I really like, it's like saying, oh, I'm hardworking, but you're lazy. But you can't actually see what's below the surface and what resources somebody has. Or some people have to spend it on different things, like if you have childcare or more responsibilities, care responsibilities, or loads of other things, then you have less time for things like work, etc. Then there's certain things that are valued less. So if somebody was caring for somebody, 30 hours a week, that would be valued less than somebody working and earning a lot of money for 30 hours a week. So it would be judged differently, and that's just a societal thing. There's lots more to that chapter. But why did I get onto that chapter topic? Can't remember. What were you asking me?
It was just sort of what can readers sort of expect from the book?
Oh, yeah. So, I was talking about different different experiences and how you can't just judge anybody for, so that's one of the examples, is you can't just put a judgment on somebody and call them lazy, because you just don't, a lot of it's like you don't know what's underneath the surface. Even things like procrastination are complicated, because a lot of people see procrastination as laziness, but underneath that there's your life experiences, there's neurodivergence, there's pressures on you, there's perfectionism. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that.
Yeah, definitely, as well as social batteries as well. And being, if you're introverted or extroverted. I don't know if you watch What We Do in the Shadows, but there's like the energy vampire.
Yeah.
It reminds me of that.
Yeah, I've watched it ages ago. I can't remember anything about it.
It's very funny. I would recommend it.
Okay.
Because we're an audiobook charity, I'll just quickly briefly go into that. So what are your favourite books or audiobooks at the moment, or your top ones ever?
Ooh, I'm really terrible at reading lately, I have to confess. When I was thinking about the previous question about self-care, I was thinking, I'd really love to read more. That would be a nice self-care. And I've tried to get that habit back into my life. But truthfully, since Bake Off, I've really struggled to just separate self-care from work and just spend some time reading. The book I've read most recently is she's a friend of mine, actually. She's called Tracy King, and it's called Learning to Think. I think it's, pretty sure it's called Learning to Think. And it's a memoir about her life. Kind of, I don't want to say too much, but she grew up in a very working class background, and had a lot of difficulties growing up, and sort of religious, like her family was very religious. And so it's called Learning to Think because she herself she was really into reading and learning, literally learning to think for herself and exploring. And I saw her the other day, actually, really. So it's kind of weird to read a memoir of somebody that you kind of know, but it's really, I really enjoy books like that. I need to read more.
Oh, yeah, there's something about reading, isn't there? I feel like you need to sort of give yourself permission to have the time to read.
Yeah, totally. And that's another thing I talk about in An Ordinary Joy, is just, I'm not like a perfect, like I try my best and I keep reflecting. Like even right now, I'm thinking I need to read more. So maybe I need to put steps into place to do that. But we're all kind of struggling with, it's never going to be perfect, and I'm fine now. But yeah, so reading would be a good self-care thing to do.
Definitely. Yeah, maybe you need to ask someone to give you permission to do it, then it'll make you feel like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think I need somebody to come and force me to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Sit down, put your blanket on, put candle on, read.
Yeah, to do that.
No. So just going back to Ordinary Joy. So all the artwork that you've released so far, the illustrations are really cute and they're really unique. How involved were you in shaping the artwork and overall sort of creative direction of the book?
Yeah, so the artwork is by Linda van den Berg. She's amazing. She lives in Amsterdam, I think.
Wow.
Because I've never met her. I've never met Alti, who did the art for my comic book either. She lives in Indonesia.
Oh.
So, but they're both really amazing. She sent me like a little original in a frame, which made me really happy. But to answer your question, I wrote just brief notes. So, because I have the goblin analogy throughout Ordinary Joy, which is like kind of the goblin's like your inner child. It's also like your vulnerable side. It's the bit full of joy if you can nurture that. So we've got like little goblin illustrations throughout the story. So I just wrote like maybe a single line. Can we have a goblin looking in the mirror, judging itself, kind of thing? And I think it brings a little bit of that humor and lightheartedness to the book. And just goblins are really fun. I identify being a goblin. So, and then she kind of takes it and does her own thing.
Nice. Yeah. Just going back to goblins, yeah, I call my cat goblins sometimes. They have, when they have like the zoomies and that kind of thing, they have, goblin mode.
Cats are pure goblins.
Yes, chaos creatures.
Yeah, they just do their own thing. They're amazing.
Definitely, yeah. I've got another question from Amy. She said, do you think you'd ever like to write a novel or another fiction book?
Yes, I would. I may be working on one.
Oh.
Not going to say any more there.
Okay. TBC. Yes, yeah. So looking back on your journey from baking to books to graphic novels, what would you say is one moment that's really stayed with you or helped shape your creative path?
That's a big question. Baking books, what is a moment that has stayed with me or shaped my creative path? I mean, Bake Off definitely has. It's interesting because that's kind of the obvious answer, I guess. But prior to that, I worked in mental health. So I worked various different roles. So I didn't really stay in a job for like more than 6 months to a year because I was trying to my aim was to become a clinical psychologist. So you need a variety of experience in different fields, and it's really hard to get onto. And so that never happened because the Bake Off happened. So that definitely changed the trajectory of my life. But I'm still very interested in psychology, of course. What else has changed? It's a really hard question, is that one?
Sorry.
Like prompts or examples?
Meeting other artists, maybe. I think you go to quite a few like Comic Cons and things.
Yeah.
Does that kind of help with creativity? And
yeah, definitely comic conventions, meeting people, just seeing other people who are being creative in general is very helpful. Trying to think of specific examples, but my brain is very blank at the moment. But there's a lot of moments that have helped me and propelled me along. Probably meeting my partner Nabil made a massive difference. I don't think I would have applied for Bake Off without that. I talk about this in Ordinary Joy, but it's important to have, or very helpful to have, kind of, I always use the analogy of like you have a rock, and that's like your support system. And in order to be vulnerable, everyone, being vulnerable is strength, obviously. But in order to be strong and vulnerable, you need that rock to then kind of run behind when it all goes wrong, because not when it all goes wrong, in case it all goes wrong.
Yeah.
And without that, it's much, much harder to be vulnerable. So kind of Nabil has really helped me with that. That sort of changed a lot of things. What else? I can't think of anything else, but there'll be a bunch.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And just going back to books, do you have a sort of favorite trope in a book that you particularly enjoy at all?
Interestingly, I mean, like I said before, I've not read enough books recently,
Mm.
but I really love, my books don't really have a dark ending. They just have like a not happy, but not like a realistic ending.
Yeah.
So I always love a realistic ending in a book, but I also love like a super bleak ending.
Okay.
Like a book that doesn't really go anywhere and it's just quite sad at the end. Like trying to think of examples. Like one of my favorite books is We Need to Talk About Kevin. I
Okay.
really like The Road. I can't remember what else because I've not read enough recently. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I mean, life is a bit more sort of not always a happy ending, I suppose, sometimes. So yeah, it's a little bit more relatable, I guess, that
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
style book. Yeah, definitely. So just go back to baking. What would you say your sort of go-to treat is to bake to help lift somebody's mood?
So my go-to treat to bake for somebody.
Yeah, or
I'm
for yourself.
like the newest thing. I always want to try something brand new. So I don't really have many things that I revert back to, although kind of bread recipes, like I said before, I love bread and so comforting. So bread recipes that I revert back to: focaccia. I love focaccia. I do an overnight no knead bread recipe, which is so simple. You just mix it all up the night before, and it's quite a wettish batter, not batter, dough. Then you just leave it. It's only got a small amount of yeast in it, so it rises very slowly overnight. You don't need it at all because the slow rise does the job for you. That's the first rise. Then you shape it, put it in like a, you don't have to use a banneton, just put it in something. And then to bake it, the trick is you preheat a Dutch oven so that it's very, very, very hot. And then which is like a cast iron pot with like a lid on it. And then you put your dough in there and you bake it for, I can't remember how long, but you bake it for a while, I think like 15 minutes. Take off the lid, and what the Dutch oven does is it helps with the oven spring. It recreates like a professional baker's oven, so they inject steam into the oven. So in the Dutch oven, it creates a really steamy environment.
Ooh,
So you
bit
get
of
that
sauna.
oven spring. The crust isn't forming too soon. And then you remove the lid and then continue baking it, and that will form your crispy, crispy crust. And it's
Ooh,
delicious. And you eat a whole loaf.
a whole one.
I
Nice. Yeah,
have to
you've
make.
just got have to. Definitely. And just jumping on the back of that, Claire asked, what would you recommend someone to start with if they are new to baking?
Mm, I always say to go in the direction that makes you happy. I love Marie Kondo. So what sparks joy? um, I I think what you most want to eat. So I say baking that there's different mediums. So cookies are different medium, pastries is a different medium, bread's a different medium, cake is its own thing. I started with breads and pastries. That's where I feel most comfortable. Cakes I find the most daunting, and a lot of people say cakes are easier ones to do, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. So just start where you feel comfortable and then grade it up a little bit. So do something maybe to start with that you feel like I could do that, or maybe I could potentially do that. Maybe it might go wrong. And then from there on, build on that. So maybe you might make, I don't know, a chocolate chip cookie. And then you might just want to keep refining that recipe until you have like your go-to chocolate chip cookie. Or you might be like, actually, I just want to try something different. Let's not just focus on the cookie. Let's just do a cake. Yeah. And as long as it's something that you're going to enjoy eating and kind of enjoy the process of, that's important. And it's tricky at baking because it can like sort of reinforce perfectionism because there's a thought of baking, it's very scientific, you can't just make a mistake. But I always say the more better you get at baking, the more you can sort of break the rules a little bit. But once you know like the fundamentals, but at the beginning, just don't be too. I always do this. If I make a mistake, I am just like really moody. Moody. But I do, for some reason, within a few hours, I'm like, no, I'm determined now. I'm back on it. Or the next partner, Nabil, always laughs at me. He says, can't you just skip to tomorrow? Because tomorrow you won't care. And he's right. I don't care. I'm more determined. So yeah, mistakes is learning. You're going to make mistakes, so just expect them to happen. And the good thing about baking is that's why I like bread. I find it's quite forgiving. Actually, maybe it's not. It doesn't rise properly. Cookies are forgiving, so you can all.
Yeah, definitely. And I think embrace the mess as well is a good one to go for.
I kind of enjoy my book Baked Joy is all about that. There's different chapters on embrace the chaos, which is a similar kind of thing, and just inject a bit of magic into it. It can get messy, is baking. But yeah, just embrace it rather than fight it.
Definitely. Yeah. Embrace the goblet mode.
Yeah.
And if you were starting with kids, would you say, cookies would be a good start then, or bread?
My friend's kid I'm trying to think what I made. So my friend's kid came round maybe a few months ago. I was going to say the other day. And I did cookies with them. So I did, so I'd say cookies is probably a good go-to. There's these really fun cookies on the cover of my book, Baked Joy. They're just like multicolored, triangular shaped little cookies with different little faces on them. And they're really fun because you can just make the dough, hand it over to kids, and they shape it, just like shape it however you want, and then make little icing, and then at the end they can just pipe whatever they want on it.
Nice. And then you can choose different themes, I guess. Maybe you can make it like, I don't know, like Totoro or something.
Yeah. I mean, kids have got amazing imaginations, and that's another thing I mention in the book is tapping into your inner child. So I always feel like I learn a lot from kids. I love how they just go, this is the best thing in the world. and it is, because they put all their time into it and effort. And they're not so bound by rules. But it's kind of sad because that's sort of stamped out of us a little bit as we grow up. But I think there's so many responsibilities when you get older. So yeah, try and learn from children as much as possible.
Embrace your inner child. Always a good rule. Yeah. And I know that it isn't an audiobook version for the book yet, but if there were, would you want to narrate it yourself, or would you have like an actor you have in mind that you'd like to narrate it maybe?
I'd totally love to narrate it myself, although I've read that, it's a very hard thing obviously to do. So I'd want to make sure that I can do it.
Yeah.
File of a chapter and be like, does this sound okay? Because I guess it's important to not sound like you're just reading. But I'd love to narrate it myself if it happens.
Do you have a particular favourite narrator? I mean, David Tennant is so good. I don't know if you've listened to any of his audiobooks.
No.
Yeah, no, they're really good. Yeah, Olivia Colman too. I would recommend. She's done quite a few. She's very good. Yeah. So there's some good ones to start with if you're looking to get into audiobooks. Yeah, definitely. And if you were to say there's one thing you want readers to take away, like one message from Ordinary Joy, what would you hope that would be?
Oh, one message. Oh, it's hard to condense down to one message. I will try. It's hard because I was thinking like one message might sound too like general. I don't know. Let me have a think. Oh, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. So it doesn't matter if things go, I don't know, things might not quite go to plan, but as long as you're reading up and you're reflecting and you're figuring things out, then there's a way forward. Hopefully that makes sense. And it's different for everybody. You're doing as much as possible with what you have.
Definitely, that sounds so good. Yeah. Yeah. So just going back to your baking for your inner child series on Instagram, what was sort of the inspiration for that? Is it just again, you like more people to sort of embrace their inner child, and then putting it on Instagram, you're hoping they be inspired by that?
About embracing your inner child. I think I think so. One of the things I talk about in my book is I kind of reflect a bit on my own personal experiences, and think one of the things, luckily, that I feel like I'm good at is embracing my inner child. And I don't think that about all the chapters. There's some chapters like I always, trying to convince myself laziness doesn't exist, even though I know that it doesn't, can be hard to do. Like you know something, but yet your brain tricks you. But I don't know, my house, I don't know, you can't properly see all of it, but it's very colorful. It's definitely my inner child. When I try to think back to my childhood and what I enjoyed as a child and try to bring it back into my life. I love talking to people. Like when I was at a comic convention, I was talking to somebody who said they make swords from sticks and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I did that as a child. Well, and they were like, yeah, and I still do it. And I was like, that's so great. I love that. Maybe I should get into that. So I love examples like that from other people. I don't know if I'm answering your question exactly how you asked it.
No, that's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So thinking about ways to put that into your life, but then staying realistic with it as well, because as I was saying before, we all have different responsibilities and things that we have to do in life. And it's harder. Say you have a job, like, because I used to work in mental health as a psychological wellbeing practitioner. So you have a role like that and it feels very serious, and it can be really hard to balance that, or like you're to balance that with bringing a bit of your inner child. You almost feel like you have to suppress that a little bit, or could go two ways if you have children, I guess. Like maybe that brings out your inner child, or maybe you have to be an adult though, don't you, when you grow up. But thinking about ways that you can possibly bring that back, and it doesn't have to be massive ways. It could just be really little things, like like for me it's decorating. I have like 2 sprinkle drawers.
Oh,
That's kind of my inner child, and I love showing it off to children. Compliments from children are my favorite. Like, oh, I'm doing something right then, thank you. But that takes space, sprinkle drawers. But you could have even like a little jewelry box with, I don't know, things that make you happy. It doesn't have to be sprinkles. You could collect rocks or seashells. I just think your interests may change. It's not going to be exactly the same as when you're a child. It'll be evolved. But you can sort of draw on that and see where it goes. I think I love board games. Board games are amazing. I think board games should be more of a thing because it really brings you together. Really social as well.
Yeah, unless it's Monopoly, and then it all goes a bit wild.
Monopoly. What did I play? I played Ticket to Ride the other day, and I really enjoyed that.
Definitely, that is a fun one. I mean, do you play like RPGs? Are you a D&D fan?
So I love to get into D&D. I'm actually sat in front of a ton of D&D books because my partner Nabil, well, we've got tons because my partner Nabil played it non-stop until he was like 35 or something. And so I keep like saying, can you please like DM a game and do one for us? So at some point that's going to happen. But I've only played it like maybe twice or something. But I like RPGs. I'm playing a game called Metaphor Fantasio at the moment. I also love Pokemon games.
Yes. Yeah.
Just
I've
satisfaction of
Mew. Oh, that is
oh,
good. I don't know if you can see it.
but yeah. So I'm getting back into that. I play because I cannot make myself exercise. Oh, this kind of links into the self-care question before, because exercise is important for self-care, but I cannot do it. I just cannot. I just like, I don't get that like joy from it enough. That all kind of natural. I just don't get it. So I mean, I get satisfaction, but then it's so hard to. I don't enjoy the process of it. But I got this game on the Switch called Ring Fit, and
Oh, yeah.
have you heard of it?
Is it the one where you've got
Yeah,
the yes, yeah.
back
You're
into
like
that.
ah.
You fight monsters. You get to run around, and you got to jump, and it's really balanced. Like to fight the monsters, you got to do like loads of squats or
Yes.
There's like balance involved. It's like a whole body exercise, cardio. What's it like? Resistance training. Highly recommend Ring Fit if you're into games and not into exercise. And you could listen to an audiobook whilst you do it. Although I just listen to music because I need something to drive me.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you like a big Switch fan then? Do you like Zelda or that kind of thing as well? That's always nice cozy games.
I like coziness, definitely. I don't play that many games lately, which is sad. Although I say that, but I do. I do play some, but not as much. I'm gonna play. Is it out? I think it's out, or I haven't started. It's called Silk Song, which I'm trying to set up my computer for. It's just like a little jumpy platformer game. It's really fun. And what was I saying about oh yeah, I grew up playing Final Fantasy.
Nice,
So
yeah.
I love Final Fantasy 9 is my favorite, but that's because it's the first one I played, so I think that's what tends to happen. And then I went back and played 7, and I'm playing the remake of Final Fantasy 7 as well, but because it's all in different parts, I played part 1 and now it's too long in between. So yeah, I like it. But again, I need to do a little bit more to relax.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when we're going into like the bear months. So they're always good cozy games and that kind of thing. I mean, yeah, do you have any, as we're going into the bear months, do you have any tips for like, when it gets darker and that kind of thing, other than like rewatching Gilmore Girls for like the 50th time?
It's funny because I actually prefer the darker months.
Okay.
But then I have light sensitivity. I don't know if it's linked to I don't know. I have a lot of sensory problems. It really interferes with my whole life. So weirdly, when it starts getting darker, I energize.
Okay.
I do. And it's like a switch, and it's really weird. Like sometimes I'll say to my partner, I'll say, I'm feeling really like just not right and awful. And he's like, oh, don't worry, in 2 hours it'll be dark and you'll be fine. And he's right. Don't know. But it's a very real phenomenon with me. So I do actually enjoy the darker months. So why do I enjoy it? I think you have to really lean into the coziness aspect, like we've been talking about. So you're not going to be able to make it suddenly bright unless you have one of those sad
The
lamps.
sad lamps, yeah.
They're really helpful if you need that. Oh, and one of those sunset lamps in the morning that kind of gradually comes on and down. I tried that for a little while because waking up is hard. But yeah, leaning into the coziness, doing some nice baking in the dark. Well, not in the dark, but with some lamps. I love lamps, candles, cozy blankets. Get yourself a heated blanket if it's cold. They're also quite cost effective as well, rather than heating your whole house.
Yeah.
But it's tricky because I know people who are really badly affected by the winter, and
Mm.
when it's getting dark at times, it get dark like so early.
It's
um
sometimes 4 o'clock, isn't it, that early?
yeah.
Mm.
And it is really tricky, but I know people who do benefit from the sad lamps and stuff as well.
Yeah. And I mean, sort of TV gets better in that time of the year. So we've got obviously Bake Off is back.
Yeah,
We've got Strictly, that's always a good one too. And the Great Pottery Throwdown at Christmas. They're always nice watches.
yeah.
Have you watched any of the new series of Bake Off?
I haven't yet, and I
Oh,
need to. And I don't like every other series I've watched. But now I don't know. I don't know if it's my headspace at the moment. I feel quite. Don't know what the right word is. Something. Don't feel quite right. And sometimes Bake Off can make me feel quite stressed
oh,
because I was on, like, I know what it was like to be on the show, and
yeah.
I think it's like before I was on the show, loved watching it.
Mm,
And now I'm on it, it feels, when you watch something, you just want to switch off. Like
yeah.
I like a lot of just like Love is Blind, I've been watching, and stuff that I don't even have to pay attention to. I can just like do stuff on my phone, put it in the background. But
Yeah.
Bake Off, I think it commands all my attention.
Mm,
And some of that, like maybe 10% of that, becomes stress. But Bake Off
yeah.
show, I love it.
Mm.
Love the Bake Off.
Yeah, I mean, there was a challenge last week, and I so felt for the man, but his cake like melted,
Oh, I
and I
saw
was like,
that
oh no.
online. Yeah, I saw
Yeah. Oh,
about the first week.
yeah, it was that everyone worked really hard on the first week. It was pretty impressive, to be fair.
Yeah, I saw some of the pictures of what people have made, and it's
Mm,
like seems very talented bunch.
definitely, yeah. And what do you think of Alison? I mean, would you? Because she wasn't there on the show when you were there, but she's so lovely. What do you
I
think
love
of her?
Alison. Yeah, love Alison. I think she's just perfect for the show. She's amazing.
Definitely. I mean, did you see the episode where she fell off the the counter?
Did I see that, or did I think I might have seen that on social media somewhere? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so good, so good.
I sound helpful because when somebody says something and then you create in your mind that you have seen that, but maybe I haven't seen that, and that's what I'm trying to figure out. But I think I did see that.
Yeah. And last question on Bake Off, because I'm quite a big fan. What do you do with all the food once you finish filming?
Good question. So it's all cut up into slices. The crew will eat it first. So whoever's like got Star Baker or whatever, or like really good feedback, that person's will be demolished. Um, and then the rest, well, everybody. So when we're chilling out, I say chilling out, we're never chilling out between challenges. So you got to do a lot of interviews and stuff. So I felt like I never had a break. Um, but they bring around like a tray of like cuttings of everyone's cake so you can try it all. But a lot of the times I didn't get round to trying it because I don't know, there's so many like interviews and then like filming bits in between.
Yeah. Was there any that you were particularly super proud of? Again, as I said, the turtles, space turtles, were probably my favourite.
That's the one that most people remember that I did, was the Space Turtles. It kind of worked. I was very proud of that because it worked much better in the tent than it did at home.
Oh,
Because at home, I tested it a bunch of times because there's a chocolate sphere that goes around these turtle shoe, and I needed to melt this chocolate sphere with sauce so that it would unveil. But when I tested it at home, I had to keep doing it repeatedly because the first time it just sunk all on top of the turtles and you can't see the turtles. So you have to, there's different methods. So you do like a crisscross method and it kind of opens out like that. And it worked on the show. I was very
definitely.
very, very pleased with how it went out. Turned out.
It was amazing. I think we've got one more questions before we run out of time. Is it as amazing as it looks, Bake Off, the tent and the house and where it's filmed?
Yeah, it is amazing. Yeah, it's so weird when you get there and see the tent and everything for the first time. I think they've moved locations now from when I first did it, but it always looks the same. They always have like a tent. As long as you got the tent, it's fine. Yeah, it's really incredible.
Yeah, so iconic. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us today. I think that is the time. But yeah, thank you so much. And ordinary joy out at the end of the month.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for your questions as well.
Thank you.
Bye.